This is the sweet sound of success with Sue Wilhite, Profit Attraction Master. Aeriol Ascher is an international best-selling author, speaker, holistic educator, producer, and show host. Her podcast, Healing Body, Mind, and Soul, is the proud recipient of two 26th Annual Communicator Awards of Distinction for feature series and feature host from the Academy of Interactive Virtual Arts. Aeriol has a passion for helping holistic leaders show up, speak up, and stand out. Welcome, Aeriol.
Wow.
So glad to have you on my show.
Yeah. I'm super excited to be here today with you, Sue. I love everything that you do and everything that you're up to. I'm an insta yes for being on your show.
Yeah, well, and I'll retroactively say thank you for having me on your show twice. So this is...
I'm going to do it again, too. I want to continue working with you always, Sue. I love what you're up to in the world. I so believe and am in alignment with your work, definitely.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Back at you. You're awesome. You're amazing. And
yeah, let's collect some more amazing people. Yeah.
So you had to start being amazing somewhere. So before you were amazing.
We don't have that long, Sue. You told me this was a quick interview.
So what got you started? What were you doing before you started all of this amazing world-changing stuff that you do?
It's a great question. And and I could go back really far, Sue. In fact, I think I will take that opportunity. I was going through some stuff in my probably my Saturn return kind of era in my 20s kind of thing going on. And I was working it was when I was younger. I was working as a waitress. You can just think of me as a singing waitress. I was a singing waitress. I was really involved in theater and lots of shows. And actually inside I felt very lost and hollow. I felt the path I was on wasn't making a difference. And I was trying to be of service because once I heard that was something that I was supposed to check out, and I freaking could not serve one more cup of iced tea. I couldn't.
Right?
And I was really good at it because I was Miss Personality and I was a multitasker. I was very good at it. And I kept getting promoted to restaurant management. And I'm like, good Lord, they're going to try to keep me here. And I would quit. I'm so sorry if there are any servers listening. Bless your heart, I always tip so well, and I was good at it. I became a trainer. I trained for a very big chain in California, and I'm like, oh my God, something happened in my life. It was not related to work. It was something else. But I just had this moment where I was so depressed because of some relationship drama that was going on. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I can't see myself motivating young college waiters and waitresses the rest of my life. I just can't do it.
Right? Is that all there is to life?
Is that all there is?
Right.
I actually called suicide prevention, Sue. I called a suicide prevention hotline. Now, I was not suicidal. I want to tell you, but I've always been deeply philosophical, deeply philosophical, so deeply spiritual. My family can't figure it out. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I'm like, singing waitress is not going to be my highest good. And I'm like, I don't know how to be of service. And they're like, what's wrong with you? What are you talking about? How can you? help people. And I'm like, and they're like, are you suicidal? What's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I am. You know, I don't know. It
Right.
was, I don't know. I really need help, and I don't know where to turn. And I had a miraculous moment where a newspaper ad popped out to me. This is before the internet. And I found somebody who was a hypnotherapy teacher. And
There you go.
and I became and I signed on with him, studied with him, and he's like, "Good Lord, you're gifted. My wife has a psychic reading service. I'm sure you can go work for her." I mean, really, it was a changing point in my life.
Right.
I began
Yeah.
hanging around with psychics, coaches, and holistic healers. It was a miraculous turning point in my life. So,
Right.
so, so when you ask me, you know, where did I start? I was a singing waitress. Yeah, I'll say. So next time I tell the story, I'll tell it better. But nobody's ever asked me that question.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I was a singing waitress, and just absolutely depressed, totally,
Wow.
totally depressed. I had fun, and everybody thought I was having fun, but I was always in this
Right.
push energy, and it wasn't really in alignment with this deeply philosophical and spiritual part of my nature that
Right. Right.
needed nourishing. So I just
Right.
fell upon great people, and I learned to be an entrepreneur. So I became actually, I didn't know how to market hypnotherapist. I didn't understand. I became a hypnotherapist and NLP, and I didn't even know what it was. So I'm like, I mean, I went to class. Do you know what I mean? I'm like,
Yes.
I don't know how to communicate this modality with
Right.
people. I didn't even
Right.
know the word modality at that
Right.
point. I had to
Right.
educate myself, let alone, and I knew I was a teacher deep in my heart. I knew I was a teacher. I'm like, I have to educate myself, you know. So I became a massage therapist. I went deep
Ah, there
into
you
the
go.
body, and always had this sort of philosophical and spiritual psychic bent to everything. So I did my first business, and my first encounter with being an entrepreneur was my healing practice, which I think I called it Touch of Elegance Massage in Campbell, California.
Right. Right. And you won awards for that.
Not that one, Sue, but thank you
Not
for
that one.
remembering.
Okay.
Yeah,
But you did win
that was
awards.
my baby practice
Ah,
that was my baby
okay.
practice. But
Okay.
yes, I did evolve my business over the years. I continued to educate myself as a practitioner. I did so much personal development work. I continued in the arts. Sometimes I teach public speaking, music, you know, so I still got to be there, but I was still an entrepreneur in the healing arts. And that's what kept my work grounded. So,
So would you say that that newspaper ad for hypnotherapy training was your call to action?
yes, I would say that that was a call to action for me.
And just sort of launched you into this whole new realm, whole new way of being, and got you going to where you are today, still award winning, and we'll get to that in a moment. Um, but and you've talked about some of the things that were challenges in the ordinary beginning, and this is what we see a lot, is that there's a lot of internal conflict before the call to action, because there's stuff going on. It's like you want to break out of the chrysalis, you want to get out of the egg, you want to go out there into the world, and it's just not happening. And that really is, I think, the first challenge that people come up against, is how to break into that. And you got, some support in that. But what were some of the other challenges that you ran into, that you got to, Joseph Campbell calls them slaying the horrible monsters. And I won't be quite that violent, but
I
right?
won't get my broadsword out for the
Yes,
telling of the tale.
the vorpal
It could
sword goes
happen
snick
though.
snack.
In my stage days, I did like to do some stage combat. So,
There you go. Right. So, what were some of the challenges that you ran into?
Well, there was a huge challenge, Sue, because um, I had this desire for success and to be seen. And I had this spiritual inkling that my ego couldn't be driving the bus, right? So I couldn't just be, wah, out there. I mean, it had to be in alignment. But I think the big foible was that I had no business skills, Sue. I
Mm-hmm.
was an
Mm-hmm.
artist.
Right.
Now, I had done a lot of teaching, so I had high organizational skills because I had had to do a little grant writing. I had to do stuff in my performing art genre where I had to oversee large projects. So I had kind of this production skill thing in my pocket. My remember that my bachelor's degree was in theater arts,
Right.
right? My
Right.
bachelor's degree was in theater arts, so I had the project organization, marketing, all this. I got business. I was like, what the heck, right? All I am, you know.
Right.
So that was and some personal development stuff because of some traumatic emotional wounding from my youth. So
Right.
the foibles were emotional things from my youth that, and just business skill training that just, and you have to get out there to learn it. Luckily, I'm a
Right.
hands-on kind of person, so it worked great.
Wow. Yeah. And I think that that's one of the biggest things, people who feel this call to be of service don't necessarily feel the call to get their MBA. Just, those things just don't go in parallel. It's not, they don't go, wow, I think I want to become, this person who really heals people, who does hypnotherapy, who does, Reiki, or does, angel
I
readings.
I
And
did.
the first thing I need to do is go to Harvard and get my MBA.
Right.
Or even
It
Berkeley.
crossed my radar, even as even after my award-winning massage therapy practice, Sue, I still was like, maybe I should go and get an MBA. I mean, I
Right.
really actually thought that, and thank goodness somebody said, Aeriol, you have invested, every asset that I have was into my personal development and my education, right? I wanted to be better at what I did and to
Right.
understand, so
Yeah.
thanks
Yeah.
for letting me talk about all my weird quirks on your show, Sue.
Oh, that's what I do. That's what good interviewers do, right? Is get the
Yeah,
weird quirks out.
great.
Otherwise, it would be boring. But it would never be boring
I
with you,
don't think
Mary.
this one will be boring.
No. So, who were some of the allies or the helpers or the mentors? What I say is the people who let you find that you had wings. It's not that they gave you wings. It's that, by the way, those things that are sticking out of your shoulder, yeah, those are wings, and you've got them, and you can fly. Go for it. Who are those people for you?
Mm. They weren't business people. They were teachers. they
Right,
they
but
were
that's
teachers.
that's okay.
They were teachers in other ways. I had a profound meeting. I was doing readings at a Whole Life Expo once, and I had developed a software program that we were doing soul path readings. It was this big
Wow.
thing. I had a whole group of people um, that hypnotherapist had gone on. The community that was created around that. We did a lot of business ventures together, and I had a lot of fun in business wise and growing what was possible in that group.
Wow.
And I was at a Whole Life Expo doing readings and we had developed this computer program that was basically I developed an app too early. So
Hey, you did what you
I
did. You
didn't.
need to do it.
I didn't. I had a programmer friend that I hired to do it because I saw that he could do it, right? And
Right.
and he and I worked that out that he could do it, and so we developed this program that gave you your tarot cards, your numerology tarot cards, etc. Long story. Sorry about that, but I met somebody that day at a reading, and I just clicked with her, loved her, and and her reading was so interesting because all of a sudden I felt like I was reading for myself. Like it was
Uh-huh.
this weird, it was a weird moment, like time
Yes.
stopped, and really it was a freebie reading. It was a freebie reading that went along with her printout or whatever, and so it was just like 5 minutes, but it seemed like 5 hours. And maybe a month later, 2 months later, maybe even a year later, I'm not really sure about this time because I was speaking, but I'm just setting up the story of where this person comes in. Um, I'm seeking another teacher, and my teacher says, Aeriol, you got to get out of town. You're stressed out. You're a workaholic, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. And he goes, my friend just bought this place in Mount Shasta. If you can go check out her bed and breakfast, maybe she says that she needs a helper, so she'll let you stay. So this was a rent-free kind of live in the apartment above the,
Wow.
and there were waterfalls like the one behind me around that I could go in Mount
Aw.
Shasta. So I drove up there and I knock on the door and I've got my backpack and I'm ready to work because I've been a waitress. And so I have all of this experience. And it's the lady that I gave the tarot reading to. And she's all, oh my God, it's you. And I said,
Oh
oh
my
my God,
God.
it's you. And, she, yeah, and she helped me out at that time in my life. So that was one person. And so she was just a friend and teacher. And what's funny is she still kind of doesn't even really get how much of a teacher she is. She still to this day calls me for advice and everything. And I'm thinking, she's my teacher. Why is she calling?
Right.
Um, and so she was one person that was really pivoting just because she was a friend and just because of the soul connection
Yes.
there at a time when I didn't feel really connected. That was something that was happening a lot still in my life. So she was pivotal. And I've got a couple really good business coaches that have helped me out too. That's not that, maybe, well, I don't know, even all of them kind of came in
Yes.
clandestine kind of wonderful and beautiful ways when I was paying attention, and some when I wasn't. Boing! When I'm not. Um,
Sometimes that
yeah, I've
happens.
had a couple really good business coaches, and I currently am working with this excellent publisher who has been such a gentle force in my life, and I've had some coaches that were all show and sparklers and really out there and everything, but my publisher has helped me ground everything and write and publish, and I've gotten a lot done since I've started working with her, I must say.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Two books have already come out that
Yeah,
you,
3 books, actually 3 now.
three
So
books
I've
have
got
come
3
out
books
and
out.
one in the hopper.
One in the hopper, and
Yeah.
that one I'm compiling, so that
Yes.
is a new thing that I'm taking on. I've already participated as an author in 3 co-author books, and it's super fun. And for
Yeah.
me, if you were listening closely to the rest of the interview, I like that community. It's important to me because in parts of my reality, it's not there. So I like to participate in group things and
Yeah.
keep together in groups.
Yeah. And that's so important. I mean, as entrepreneurs, as helpers, as service people, we need people around us to support us. I
I'm a
mean,
total
I
lone
keep
wolf. I'm a
saying this.
total lone wolf one too. I mean, just how the personality developed. I got to be a real lone wolf one too. So I need to make a conscious effort to have community. And I love these co-author projects. They're super exciting and breathtaking to see what all the authors do and how everybody synthesizes. It's very exciting.
right? It's great stuff.
Yeah.
Getting work out into the world and having the broad audience just take it on and love it. It's great stuff.
It is super juicy.
Yeah. So Aeriol, who, well, let me rephrase this. In Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, one of the things he talks about is the hero returning home. And the hero returns home, so to speak, and the hero has changed. He or she is now different. And the village or the homestead or whatever, the apartment, they're not necessarily as changed because they haven't had the same transformational experience. And one of the things that I see frequently, and we see it in kind of microcosm, for instance, and Aeriol, I know you've experienced this. You go to personal development workshops, right? You go to these weekend things, 3-day things, 5-day things, and you get all juiced up and you're all ready to go. And you've got these incredible insights and you're just going for it. And you come back home and everybody looks at you sideways. It goes, what are you talking about? No, we're not going to do these exercises. Or no, when are you going to get a real job? What are you thinking? How has that been for you? Have you had that experience, first off?
Oh my gosh. So I have such a good story here. So when I was 17 and knew everything, I so wish I was as smart as I was when I was 17.
Right?
If only. Um,
Seriously.
my mom came home from a landmark. Then it was called EST. My mom came home.
Oh, wow.
Like she had become an EST-hole. And I wasn't too happy about that. And I think that some of the learnings weren't completely absorbed properly, and they were projected upon me. So I was very resistant to the landmark and everything. And I did it all. Now I will say, and I love and I recommend it for a lot of my clients, but you have to understand I have this philosophical and spiritual, and I'm an empath. There were a couple layers of about how the landmark education stuff was presented that didn't jive with me because I'm heart-centered and not head-centered.
Right.
Or you know,
Right.
so so I had experience to it, and then people tried to get me into it, and I was all hell no. And now I have, I've done the whole thing, and and everything, but I had seen it when I was that rebellious age, right? And when my indigo child was really like, her bullshit detector was really going out, out the door, and I was a little bit rebellious, and I'm like, I won't do it. Like, it's the age, and it's also the personality. So
Right.
my money
And it's mom.
I got my money's worth out of the 80s, let's just say that. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I really yep, I enjoyed that. Anyway, so to tell you about the personal development thing, I mean, I thought my mother had lost her mind, and I have had the experience where I have gone. Later on, I invited my uncle, my mother's brother, because there is a long-standing family feud, and my mother won't speak to her brother and vice versa. So I have very, very little contact with that side of the family. And I invited him to an event. And while he was supposed to be in the other room listening to a presentation, he busts into the room that I was in, and he says, "Oh my God, I can't believe that you invited me to this BS." And I mean, just really made a scene, and like in 300 people in the room. And I was like,
Wow.
and so they asked him to leave. He wanted to come in there to say goodbye to me. So so he left and everything. That's fine. He called my mom. You're gonna love this one. This is a punchline moment. So he called my mom the next day and said, Aeriol's joined a cult, and said, and she said, "Well, nonsense. Aeriol hasn't joined a cult. Aeriol would start a cult." So,
Right?
So that tells you the difference of what I was growing, like the opposing sides that were growing up, when I was that was going on in my house. So, and she thought that was great. So, and I was like, I don't know what to think about it, so
Right?
yeah.
Right? Yeah. And that's the biggest thing that we get to deal with is, you've joined a cult, or, you're crazy.
And even
I get
some
that
write
all the
you
time.
that.
It's
And
like,
even
how
some write
can
you
you
that.
how can you deal with the uncertainty? And I go, how can you deal with the uncertainty? you know,
It's
it's
just funny to
life is
me.
uncertain. It
Yep.
just is. There are no certainties. You just
Oh
don't know.
well.
Hello, 2020.
Oh yeah, worst purchase ever, 2020 day,
Right.
right?
Did you get your pack of 2020 apocalypse bingo cards?
I wish I
Because
did.
we've been checking them off.
I know.
The last one that I just read, I just have to insert this as a funny,
Of course.
um, that officials in Florida are now warning that alligators have been eating the meth that people have been flushing down the toilet. And so
The
we're going to get
alligators are jacked up on meth. That is freaking hilarious, Sue. Oh my god. Oh, the comedian needs
headline was something
like
about the headline was something about super aggressive alligators predicted in Florida. And I'm like, okay, that's clickbait. I've got to go look.
meth crazed alligators. I'm in. Click, click. That's so funny. What a weird one. That's really a
Yes, but
problem.
this is, life is uncertain. You would never,
There could
ever
be,
have
there
thought
could be,
that alligators
that
could be souped up on meth.
I used to have that fear though that there were alligators in the sewers. We lived in San
Right?
Jose, so I
Me,
was
we
told it
grew
was
up
in
on
New
that.
York. I was told New York had all the weird plumbing problems like the alligators and the boa
And the
constrictors.
boa constrictors, yes.
Stuff like that. So luckily it was never in San Jose, or they would have had some pretty serious medical problems for me.
Right, right.
Yeah, they were
Well,
like,
in San Francisco, we did have those stories in San Francisco that,
oh,
some boa constrictor or some critter escaped from the zoo and got down in the sewers, and they were living down there. And that was the story that was going around in my schools when I was growing up. Is
terrifying.
yeah, and let me tell you, San Francisco in the 60s and 70s, any critter in the sewers then. You talk about meth crazed alligators. Nothing to what they would have. LSD hopping up
Compared
boa
to an
constrictor.
LSD boa constrictor. Wow. Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
so
I was born I was born just at the tail end of the 60s, so that wasn't really my but I'm a product of it, obviously.
right, right. So let's talk about some of your accomplishments.
Oh
Ariel,
yes,
you've
let's.
got three books, three books that are international bestsellers. So
On
name
Amazon.
them, name them in order here.
Oh yes, I did the Experts and Influencers Leadership Edition, and that's awesome. I was just dipping. I actually that one was an accident. I wrote about leadership. I wrote about leadership. I'm all I'll try this. So I wrote about leadership, and it became a bestseller in 3 countries.
There you go.
And I'm all wow. If I would have known that I enjoyed writing. If I would have known that, I would have tried a little bit harder. So, and
Yeah,
then,
but then you've got your second one.
yeah, and then I did do 2 chapters in a book called The Animal Legacies, and this one is really my heart.
Yeah.
It is really about how I pulled myself out of a deep depression. My chapter is about how I pulled myself out of a deep depression. Depression and anxiety, that kind of thing, runs in my family. but my dog had died. And this is a book about how to connect with nature, how to heal yourself with nature,
Mm.
and using animal spirits. And it's got a beautiful oracle deck, the Animal Legacy wisdom deck that's associated with it. And I have 2 chapters in that book. And then my 3rd book just came out last week, and it is Experts and Influencers, the Women's Empowerment Edition.
Ooh.
And that ended up being a bestseller in 7 countries.
Dang.
Yeah. Oh, the Animal Legacies was only 3. It was a bestseller only in 3
Only.
countries. Yeah. And so
Such
I
a
know
loser.
it's delightful, and not for my success, but for because now that gift is in the hands of so many. And I was strategic. I picked those because I picked the Animal Legacies book to participate in because that represents my healing work and intuition and connecting with nature, this kind of thing. And as a speaker, I speak about leadership and women's empowerment. So I picked these projects in order to lead into and to have tools to lead into my entrepreneurial sales fountains.
Yes, yes, exactly. And they're fabulous books, people. The links will be in the description of the show. And you should check them out because they're just, I mean, there's a reason that they're bestsellers in multiple countries.
Yeah, and
So there's,
I'm not the only author in those. There
yes,
are, there was some like really cool people. Like, I'm like, woo! I'm a big shot. I am. I'm with.
yes.
There's some very knowledgeable and very successful people that I have been just had the good fortune to partner with.
Yeah, and that's the name of the game, isn't it, Ariel? I mean, you talk about creating community. You want to get into a circle of people who match your ideals, who maybe know, I don't want to call it more, but they know things differently than you do. And so you can all put it together and create something that really is of service to the world, because
Mm.
that's what you're all about, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And
I
your
actually
podcast.
I tell people all the time, I love being the dumbest person in the room. Are you kidding me? I love that. It's
Just be
okay.
a
It's okay
sponge.
with me. Yeah. I'm so fascinated. I'm so fascinated to feed my soul and to connect with people and to hear what they're up to and just to support people in connecting to their own divinity, Sue.
Right. And that's what your award-winning podcast is about too, right?
Yes.
I mean, you are so consistent within your service of all of
Thank
these
you.
things are
Well,
all
it took a
about
lot of
being of service.
yes, it took a lot of massaging, if you but bum with my massage practice, and it took a lot of massaging and really figuring out what my offerings were and how to present it. You know,
Right,
the
right,
stuff gets real when you put the pen to the page. Yeah, I
right.
tell everybody it gets real because people. I've noticed that now working with other authors too. Um, uh, the first time authors are interesting, they're insecure, right, because they know they're going to put themselves out there,
Right.
and I've had the good fortune to work on my compiling project and to sort of be the midwife for them. Just push the send button, honey. Just send
Yeah.
it over. We're
Just,
gonna
just do it. Just
just
do it.
we're gonna tell you if it's we're gonna tell you if we're gonna help you, like just come on, let it go.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ariel, for being on my show. It has been such a delight, such a pleasure. And I just love everything that you're doing. I am so delighted that a mutual friend introduced us all those years ago. And I hope we get to have you back someday. more of the
Absolutely.
story.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Sue, if anybody wants a free chapter out of one of those books, can I just say it out loud before I leave?
Absolutely. And
Um,
we'll put
it's
info in the description too.
Sure, sure. So then they don't have to search all over. Like, I would love it if you would all go buy it on Amazon. That's really awesome. But let me give you a couple just freebies, just because that's the kind of person I am. And you can
Nice.
go to Ask Aeriol. That's AskAeriol.com. And there's a couple links there where you can just download a couple free PDFs and some samples from the books and everything if you just want to get started.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
on
you.
behalf of my audience
Thank you.
to get your wonderful work out in the world. Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right. So thank you. Bless you. And thank you, audience, for watching The Sweet Sound of Success. What are your dreams for your business? You know what drives me crazy? Really smart business owners denying their talents because they've been taught it has to be hard, because they've been taught that they don't deserve their gifts, that they're not worth anything. They've been taught that their gender means they can't express their genius. I'm Sue Wilhite, and I want you to have access to your genius. I want you to go out and rock the world with your genius. So I created the Call to Action Coaching Program. It's all about getting to the heart of you and what you've got to share with the world to make a profitable business that thrives and allows you to make a difference in the world. Click the link to sign up for the Call to Action Coaching Program today. Don't let your genius go unnoticed.